We want to talk about a story that has dominated the headlines here in the state. We're talking about a federal court, and this is from last week, a federal court allowing North Carolina to use GOP-drawn congressional map for the 2026 midterm elections. Now, this map targets North Carolina's 1st and 3rd congressional districts, impacting a candidate like Don Davis, Democrat Don Davis, who won in District 1. That's in northeastern North Carolina. Julie Kay is here in studio. Julie, you got a chance to speak with Don Davis. Not only did you speak to Don Davis, you are set to speak with a GOP leader in a little under an hour, and some other folks as well. What did he have to say, Don Davis?
So Congressman Davis said that he is running again. We had a moment where these districts, this redistricting map came out, and it looked like it wasn't very likely he'd be able to win again, because the whole point of this map from state lawmakers, state Republicans, is to make District 1, which has historically been competitive but leaning Democrat for decades now, to make that more likely for a GOP candidate to win. So we weren't sure if Congressman Davis was going to run again, but he said this week he's going to. In fact, if he does win, he's going to move to that now redrawn district, which he does not have to do. So interesting, proving a point there. But I got a chance to speak with him, and he said not only is he running again, he says, reaching out to the Republicans in the new district, saying, I'm from this area, like the issues can represent everybody in these issues. I understand Eastern North Carolina. But he also said this redistricting has to stop. This is a thing that we've seen across the country. So his call is not for other Democratic states like California and some others that have jumped into this kind of movement to gain some ground at the congressional level for either party. He's not encouraging other states to do that. He said this needs to end here. This is a sign that this is partisan politics getting in the way of things that actually need to get done for his constituents.
Yeah, and I remember covering his race in 2022, and he mentioned to me, and I also was out there too, in 2022, he was also facing, that map was just redrawn. So it was, I guess the thinking was, this is going to be a tight race. It didn't end up being a tight race at all. But that is something that he's faced as a freshman congressman.
And he said people are still confused about that one. So he's getting a lot of support from constituents, but also confusion, because for people who don't remember, of course, North Carolina is seen as kind of a purple state. We voted red in the presidential election, but we have a Democrat governor. But we used to have a pretty even split that reflects that at the congressional level, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. After that initial redraw in 2022, it's now 10 Republicans, 4 Democrats. This will, it seems like a small thing to just redraw 2 districts to get 1 more seat, but that's already on top of another redistricting. So we've now deeply shifted the representation of all of North Carolina in U.S. Congress in just a matter of 3 years, whether you're on, the side of yes, this is good, or on the side of this needs to stop. Just because we're in Mecklenburg County, we represent, this part of the state. This does represent everybody to some degree.
What is the GOP saying?
So I have an interview scheduled with the chairman of the 12th District GOP. That's our congressional district here in Mecklenburg County. And of course, I expect him to support this redistricting. A lot of the Republicans that I have spoken with have said we need to combat things like that are happening in California. Of course, it wasn't California that started it. There were other Republican states that have done this as well, and that's where it really began, looking at states like Texas, for example. But that is kind of the message I've been hearing, is this is a call from President Donald Trump, from the federal administration, for state governments to do this. Because, of course, the more GOP representation at the federal level, regardless of which state, more likely President Trump's agenda is going to be able to be accomplished quicker. So that is what I expect to hear, is that this is the state lawmakers succeeding in President Trump's call to action for them, and curious to hear what he has to say in general about Congressman Davis's decision to run again. I'm also curious what he thinks about the Republican primary. So
Yeah.
2 have already filed, but 5 in general have expressed interest. So there's probably a lot of people that we have on the table here. There's not one clear candidate necessarily. And so I'm curious to hear what he has to say about who he would like to see get this support, get this primary win, and go against Congressman Davis in the official election.
Before I let you go, you are set to possibly speak with G.K. Butterfield. He held that seat in District 1 for years, endorsed Don Davis, was actually at Don Davis's watch party in 2022. You get a chance. Granted, you're set to speak with him. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Did he say anything on the phone when you spoke with him briefly?
So we are scheduled to speak at around 2. He's actually in Raleigh right now.
Okay.
Doing some other things. But I gave him a call because I was just curious as someone who held the seat for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he held this from 2004 to 2022. He, of course, being a Democrat, as you mentioned, supporting Davis. And so that kind of shows you the longevity of how the seat has been, although competitive, leaned blue. So I'm really curious to see what he has to say about redistricting in general. And I'm curious to see what he has to say about how this impacts the state, because he's still very involved in not just national politics. You know, he works in D.C. a lot of the time, but also here in Raleigh. For example, today, him talking about his, separate things that he's doing at the State House at the same time. So very curious to see his take on this. Of course, I'm sure he's going to support Davis again, but could be some really interesting context added with his history with the seat.
Yeah, I served in that seat for a long time, as you just mentioned, Julie. Before I let you go, when can folks catch your story? Because, again, this is a lot of eyes when it comes to 2026.
4 p.m.
4 p.m. All right. You heard it there. Julie, thank you for your time.